What's happening, everybody?
Oh,
Welcome.
hey buddy, how's it going?
I'm doing well. How you doing, Krosby?
Oh, I'm doing well. Thanks, man. Award season coming up.
Award season coming up. There's a big award show.
Big one.
Because this episode's all about the awards. Oscars are coming out in a week or so. And we want to talk Oscars, but not necessarily the ones that won, but the ones that
No.
didn't win.
They've had enough
Because
press.
Right, exactly. Because so many years, there's so many movies that it's like, yeah, great, this got nominated, but what about this? And it's always these movies that you're wondering, like 10, 20, 30 years later, like, how did this not get nominated? Or how did this
Yeah.
person not get nominated for? Because they're career defining and movie defining cinematic things. So we have a lot to get to today. So Krosby, why don't you just explain what the topic of the show is and how we're going to go about today?
So essentially, we're going through what, in our opinion, are the greatest Oscar snubs of all time. This has very specific rules. It has to be a film or a performance that wasn't nominated for the category in question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's going to be really interesting. So we're going to be moving through 5 categories.
Yeah, we're doing it a little differently. We're not doing a rubric like we normally do, where we
right.
take one.
Yeah, it's just it's a list.
Yeah, usually we take one topic, we each pick a movie, and then we go through a rubric of 5. But this time we're doing 5 mini fights, essentially, where we will basically pick 5 topics, 5 questions, and each just pick one movie. And instead of a rubric, we have just that one fight, and then we pick a winner for each. So
exactly. So we've got our little listaroos to figure out. So first off, you got Best Supporting Actress, wonderful category, of course. Then, of course, Best Supporting Actor. Then you got Best Actress, then of course Best Actor, and finally Best Picture that was snubbed. So
we're keeping it very simple. Yeah,
very exciting. Yeah, we decided to keep it to a couple categories this time.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about like the biggest cinematography snubs, even though that could be another channel, another episode down the line. And of course, at the end, we will tell all of you what you guys wrote in as for the poll responses. What you guys picked. A lot of good choices in each category that I got on the Instagram polls. Those Instagram polls are on my Instagram at Dylan_Randazzo64. So please follow me there, and you can be part of the poll for the next show. We have a really cool topic coming up. We have a really cool topic coming up next time, so we will tease that at the end.
Yes,
but Krosby, let's just jump right in. Let's go right into supporting actress.
Alrighty.
And here's the thing, Krosby, you did lose the last fight. I beat you with Spider-Man, so you, Mr. X2, will get to start off the fight because you get the little head start because you lost last time.
Fair enough.
Krosby has 1 win under his belt. I have 2, so this one is 5 separate wins. So Krosby can go up a whole 6-2 right now. So
wipe your collective brows, people.
So Krosby, who did you pick as your Best Supporting Actress snub? Someone who didn't even get nominated.
Okay, so my Best Supporting Actress snub is sort of crazy. Like I think it's a bit of a hot take. Okay. So mine is Jane Lynch in Role Models. Now this was in 2008. And this was in the 2000s. I think we can both agree this was a period of times where comedies didn't always get their due, awards-wise and review-wise. And so it was important to me that I picked Jane because it's such a wonderful performance in a film that is defined by its performances. So I felt like I couldn't overlook her. She does a tremendous amount of posture and physical work. You can tell she does certain things with her voice and her speech that both soften out and sharpen certain sounds. It's just magnificent, and comedy's hard. I don't think Jane Lynch gets her due. Specifically, I think she gets it for this performance, which, by the way, is from a film which was nominated for no Oscars.
Yeah. I mean, comedy is a very subjective category in the Oscars as is, and now you have all these great performances to choose from. I think that's a great performance, a great choice. I actually haven't seen it in its entirety, Role Models, but I have seen her scenes, and they're incredible.
They're probably the best parts.
Yeah, and that's the thing about supporting actor and supporting actress is like they don't have to be in that whole movie to make a big impact and to deserve that award and that recognition. So I went with a whole different angle than you. I did not go comedy at all. I went the exact opposite. I went horror, and because I think there are so many people who are left off of Oscar ballots because of horror, because horror again is a subjective genre, just like comedy, where I feel like Oscar voters, they either don't like horror for the reasons that a lot of people don't like horror because it scares them, or they just don't take it as seriously, which I don't think is right. So I picked one from 2017, and that is Allison Williams in Get Out. And that was my choice.
Interesting.
Here's the thing: Get Out was a movie that would not have been nominated just based on what we've seen in history. Like it was not the typical Oscar film. So for it to get nominated in so many categories, it was this huge cultural thing. Like it deserved to get nominated, and it did. It was one of those things where the Academy kind of broke the rules in terms of what they normally went with. But they didn't nominate her, and I think she is part of the reason why the movie is so effective, is because she has that switch where you are on her side, and then you realize she's been playing you the whole time. And I think that is part of why Get Out works so well, is that this whole time you've been like under her deception, and the audience believes it too, not just Chris, played by Daniel Kaluuya, who was nominated. The movie got nominated for a lot, and it deserved it. But this is one nomination that I think could have also. And it won, it won original screenplay, which is huge. Like I said, It is not normal for horror movies to win, let alone get nominated. So,
shout out to Jordan. Man is a genius.
Jordan feels so good. So Allison Williams is my pick. So Krosby,
that's great.
Horror and comedy. Let's talk it out.
I love that we went in these directions, because I feel like these are the two sort of slept on categories awards wise. Think about how many great, iconic horror type performances there are, even from actors who are established awards junkies. Think, Jack Nicholson is the obvious one, of course, from The Shining. But I mean, of course, personally, I have to stick with my guns on this one. I got to give it to Jane, specifically because it was a very certain type of film that was being produced at the time in comedy. And for Jane Lynch to come in and fill the role that she filled as a woman, I think was really impressive, given the time and given the genre. And I think she deserves high praise for it.
Yeah, I mean, I might stick to my gun. I'm going to talk it out with myself, because I think there are pros to Allison Williams, winning this, and there are cons. The con being that it did get nominated in the places, like Get Out itself was so well awarded and well nominated in other categories, that like them leaving off this nomination, it was. To me, it was a snub, but also they already awarded the film so many other places where it's like, I'm glad the film itself got nominated. That's what's important. But at the same time, part of me is like, the film is all based on her as a villain. Like, she is the villain in the film. And I get it. Like, maybe because she, it's about Chris, in his experience. Like, he's the one you nominate. And Daniel Kaluuya was exceptional, and he deserves a nomination.
Sure,
Allison Williams, I mean, she's doing stuff that is so stone cold that like you don't see a lot in horror. A lot of the times horror performances are over the top. They are,
true.
You can usually take a picture and the actress is like that, or the actors like, like the Jack Nicholsons and like the Toni Collettes and stuff like that. So when you see someone who does it the opposite way, and it's so controlled and it's so calm and so subtle, I mean, that is also powerful in horror.
And chilling.
Yeah, exactly. And she comes from this murderous family, but she's the one who stands out to me because she's the one who has the audience under her, spell almost with that. So I think we might be deadlocked here.
Deadlock. I think there's gonna be a lot of deadlock today, Dill.
So I'm always heads, you're always tails. So I think we're going to Siri for this one.
Of course, the one and only.
All right, Siri, flip a coin, please.
Come
on. All right. It looks like I got that win.
Yes. Oh,
it was heads.
Well won. I do love that pick. That's very fun, and it's also I think that sometimes there are actors or writers or directors who suffer from the brilliance of another part of a project. You know what I mean? I'll actually get to this later on when we get to our honorable mentions.
Cool.
But there's a specific example from this year that I think of.
Okay, cool. So again, like with we put together all these lists of honorable mentions. We will get to them at the very end because there are so many other performances that we want to bring up on the show. And just picking out who I wanted to pick for each of these categories was tough because I wanted to make sure there was a variety. So like I almost picked a horror actress in Best Actress, but I went for horror in this category because I want to almost spread the wealth.
Yeah, of course you decided to switch it up.
Yeah. All right. So moving on to best supporting actor. So because you lost that fight, you will go again, Krosby.
Wow.
You will go again. So Krosby, tell me. I hope you didn't pick the same one as me, but if you did, I won't blame you because it's a great performance. So Krosby, tell me who you picked for the biggest best supporting actor snub of all time.
So this is this is probably my favorite category at the Oscars. It's so full of these colorful performances, along with actually best supporting actress. It's full of these really colorful, excellent character performances. And it was so hard for me to pick one. It really was, because there was one that just jumped to mind. But then after thinking about it for a little while, there was one I was more impressed by. The one I ended up going with was Ralph Fiennes in Grand Budapest Hotel.
Nice.
Many would consider him leading actor in that.
Okay.
But personally, because he doesn't enter the film for a while and actually exits it a bit before the end, I would put him in this category.
Yeah.
Just because he is the most memorable thing about the film, I still think he deserves this award. I think it's a brilliant performance and it stands out.
I think with Wes Anderson, like, because his cast is so enormous and there's so many characters doing so many different things, I think they all kind of are supporting. I don't think there's ever one that, you know, I mean, even in Royal Tenenbaums, it's like Gene Hackman is the lead kind of, but even then it's like there's so many other characters that could be fighting for that. Yeah. Great pick. So I went, again, another totally different direction.
Let's hear it.
So this is a performance that I don't think was even on people's radars because, again, like I said with horror and like you said with comedy, there is a stigma against certain categories in this Oscar category and best supporting actor. Voice acting and mocap has never been awarded.
Sure.
Ever. It has never been nominated in these categories. I think the closest was maybe some buzz for Robin Williams in The Genie. That's not my pick, but it's another option. It was on my honorable mentions.
That's great.
But I went more the mocap route because mocap is such a defining thing of today and of the times. And I went with Andy Serkis in Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers.
Oh, that's a good pick. That's a good pick.
And it's simply because he kind of started this whole generation of these types of performances that are like these, you know, very technologically forward performances. You see with Marvel now, a lot of people are using green screen and you have all these different, you know, characters hiding behind makeup and stuff. And he really brought that to light, saying, hey, you can get great performances out of these side characters, out of these creatures. You know, it's not just, you know, Star Wars where there's this extra wearing this big, like, prosthetic head. It's like, no, it's like, this is a creature who emotes just as much as a human. He has the same eyes and the same, you know, he does everything a human would do, just with the mocap suit.
Emotion, for sure.
Right. And I picked Two Towers specifically because obviously that is where we're introduced to him, and that is really where we see this like crazy performance that like blew all the other performances I think in that movie out of the water. And that movie is stacked.
Oh, it's a hell of a film.
But I think he is a standout because you have such innovative technology, but beyond that technology, you have a great performance. It's not the technology that makes the performance good. It's Andy Serkis himself. And we've seen him go on to do, you know, like Caesar and Planet of the Apes, and we've seen him do King Kong, and you know, he's never awarded despite being, you know, the backbone of these performances. It's not the visuals, it's him. So that is why I picked Andy Serkis for this.
That's a great pick, and I love it because he's also, like you're saying, he's the pioneer. You know what I mean? Like, he is not only the guy who sort of started it, he's almost still like the gold standard. It's like, well, if you're doing mocap and he's important, you try to get Andy Serkis. You know what I mean? Like, it's and I think that speaks a lot to his skill. Gotta stick with Rafe on this one. I'm sorry. He brings too much raw skill to a part that is so complicated. Because if I were to, like, it's a performance that doesn't leap off the page. You know what I mean? It's a performance where you can tell that he sat with this text and he had to make a lot of decisions along the way.
Right.
Now, it's not that that's not the case for the great Andy Serkis, but when you have a bunch of people working together to create a performance like Gollum or Thanos, you know, one of those great mocap performances, I will say I think it spreads the credit as well.
Yeah, that's fair. That's like nominating, like, if you have like visual effects team, like that would be kind of where you nominate the
Totally.
visual effects team for Gollum, even though Andy Serkis is a man behind the CGI.
The
Like
man
that's
behind the
kind of where
Gollum.
they went, and that's what they did. They nominated the visual effects, but
Absolutely, yeah.
I do think the person behind the puppet or behind the mocap or behind the the mind behind the mayhem, the madness or whatever, like
Absolutely.
that's something that I think is overlooked. So I do think Ray Fiennes is giving more of like a performance that is all on his terms, and like it's his 100% of it is his, whereas mine, it's like, like there are other elements, and I get that. I wanted to bring attention to it because I think it's a great performance, but I do think you make a good argument that, like, if you're going to award Andy Serkis, you also have to award the other people around him, and they kind of did.
Yeah.
Visuals. So Krosby, I think you're getting this one.
Do I get this one? Oh my
I think
Lord.
you're getting this one.
Beautiful.
So we're 1-1 today, and because we're not doing a 5-part breakdown, that's like a whole win for you. So you got now 2 wins to your name. I got 3, so you're still behind, but there's 3 categories left.
Thank God I'm not too far behind.
Is there like a moment of Ray Fiennes that you like think is the best in that movie, or just?
For me, it's probably there. The movie starts, and you're wondering, like, what kind of character is this guy? I should say his character arc starts, which isn't a bit into the movie.
Yeah.
But you see him walking out this woman to a car, and he starts talking to her, and he takes her hand because he's being emotional, and then he looks at her hand, and he can't keep talking because he has to stop and comment on her nail color, and it's just like, that's hard. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to be in something and then surprise the audience, especially in film, because it's all so close and it's happening so quickly.
Yeah. And I also think, I know we already gave you the point, but also, Ray Fiennes is creating the character himself, whereas like Andy Serkis has all that source material. Like, people knew Gollum was going to be a big deal in this movie, whereas no one saw Ray Fiennes coming. And I like how you put him in supporting. I think he was campaigned for lead, but it does make sense because he is part of the supporting whole,
He's part of that ensemble,
Right, it's an ensemble performance. Same as the poster behind you too, Trial of Chicago 7. And I think that's why a lot of actors didn't get nominated for that movie, is because it was such an ensemble effort. It's like, how do we nominate? We need to spread the wealth, so we're just going to nominate one.
Exactly.
And that's what happens with the Oscars. They, if it's a big ensemble, either none of them get in, or like a bunch of them get in, and they split votes, and then none of them get in because they split votes. Okay, so we're going on to Best Actress. We're moving right along.
What a great category.
So I go first because you won. The last one, so I get the advantage here. But I doubt any of us are going to steal each other's performance. I think we pretty much pick different performances, unless
I think so. Yeah.
Maybe Best Actor. Who knows? So I went with like I said, I wanted to spread the wealth. I got my horror. I got like a cool sci-fi Andy Serkis.
Absolutely.
Now I'm going classic because so much of the Oscars, the Oscar snubs that come to mind for me are either ones that I experienced and lived by, or performances that I just always assumed were performances that got nominated or won, and then went back later and was like, wait, that wasn't even nominated. So I went with Judy Garland in The Wizard of Oz.
Ooh!
And
I like
the reason
that one.
I did,
that one's fiery.
The reason I did, that is not just a career-defining performance, but that is a cinema history, cinephile, game-changing performance. That defined cinema. And that was the start of a whole new era of filmmaking, in my opinion, was that year with Gone with the Wind and Wizard of Oz, 2 of the biggest films of that time. One has aged worse than the other, but
of course.
Wizard of Oz is timeless, and there's a reason why people can look at her now, young girls now, and see themselves in Dorothy now, and they were able to do that again, like 80, 60, 70, I don't know how many, 39, I can't do the math right now, but it's like
many
70 years ago.
and
it's really impressive. It's a testament to her and how good she is in that role. And another thing, the song won. The song was a big deal, Somewhere Over the Rainbow. And you don't even nominate her. It's like you're nominated. You're saying this is the best cinematic song of all time. You're putting it on this pedestal. You give it the win, but then the girl who sang it, who really brought the life to that song, doesn't get the nomination. Maybe it's age bias. She was young when she played the role. Maybe it's just the fact that there were a lot of movies that came out in 1939 that were really good. But I don't know why she didn't. So that's my pick.
That's a cool pick. I like that pick. That's a very historically defining one. I like that. So For me, I had to go with a film, like a very recent film that has received a great deal of acclaim. Basically the height of the mountaintop, but one that surprised me with its lack of acting nominations. So for this one, I had to go with Yo Jong Cho from Parasite. She plays the mother of the wealthy family,
nice.
and I honestly am speechless. I cannot put into words the level of skill that these actors bring to this film. The great thing about that win to me for Best Picture was it almost felt like a win for everyone. Like it felt like obviously the Best Director and Best Writing wins that he already had, but it felt like the cast, like it felt like the crew, like it felt like for South Korea as a nation, it was a win. It was amazing. Yeah. And specifically though, when I finally got around to watching Parasite, I jumped onto IMDb and I was like, how have none of the acting performances in this film gotten a nomination when we could all agree that it was on the level of getting Best Picture? Specifically, I had to shout her out because it takes so much to realistically, comedically, dramatically play a character who's a little slow on the uptake and do it in a way that is just brilliant. The last thing that I'll say about her is that she brings this otherworldly quality to the part that I think is vital in suspending the disbelief of the audience and really allowing us to buy in when and this is not a spoiler alert, but when the movie starts getting crazy.
Right. Yeah, I mean, she's just so good. I mean, that whole ensemble, again, we're talking about, like, stigmas that the Academy has, we talked about horror, we talked about comedy, foreign film is another one, and it sucks, because, like, it took this long, 90-something years, almost 90 years, I think it was 90 years, for them to award a foreign film in Best Picture, but they didn't even nominate the performances, and it's like, how are you going to say that this is the best picture of the year and not award any of the performances, or at least nominate them?
To me, it was surprising to say the very least. I think here's the thing. The balloteers of the Academy are primarily English speaking. That's just the way that it is. But I will say, I think it's important when a movie like Parasite, Pan's Labyrinth, Life is Beautiful comes along and delivers stories and performances that go beyond the language barrier to the point where you're like, wow, it's like watching, and this is, of course, a ridiculous comparison dramatically, but it's like watching a Looney Tunes cartoon where you don't need words. You just know what's going on.
Yeah. I mean, my favorite shot from that movie is when she comes up the stairs and she drops that bag and like that look of fear on her face as she comes up. I mean, that's in the comedy half too. That's not even the dramatic half.
Exactly.
But that look,
it's brilliant. It's brilliant.
Yeah, that moment. I mean, that whole montage is, I think, the greatest montage in cinematic history. Between the coughing and the napkin.
Yeah,
and
I think that's accurate.
Yeah, but that look, I mean, that is the iconic look that I think of when I think of Parasite, and the best shots from that movie. It's her coming up the stairs and that look on her face. She sells it so well. I love that pick, man. Like I think Judy Garland is so important in like you said, a cinematic defining way.
Yeah.
But also, I mean, she was young and, she was still, kind of figuring out herself as an actress. I think she honestly has better performances in her filmography. But this is the one I feel like needed the nomination, because this is like what we still think of as some of the greatest, film characters of all time. Dorothy Gale, Wizard of Oz. It's iconic.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. And yours is so recent. It's almost like the total different end of the spectrum.
I love the opposite ends of the spectrum. I have to say, I don't think you can overrate how important that Judy Garland performance is. You know what I mean? Like, as much as as an actor, I admire the Parasite performance quite a bit more. But in terms of cinema, in terms of pop culture, I don't know if there is, frankly, a more influential performance in all of film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and again, like I said, that song, in the first 5 minutes of the movie, she should have had her Oscar nomination locked up. I'm not saying she needed to win, like, there were good performances that year, but she didn't even get nominated.
Hey, Anne Hathaway won for less.
Exactly, and that's the thing, like, you have this one moment, and it's one of the most iconic moments. Everyone knows Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I could make you sing it right now. I'm sure you could sing it right now. Like, know the song. Everyone knows the song. So it's like, to award, that was the big talk. Like, this amazing song, we're gonna like award it all these Oscars, and it's like, you're gonna give the song. It was like it would be like if you nominated Shallow at the Oscars and didn't nominate Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga for Best Actor and Actress. Luckily, they were nominated. But I'd even argue that Judy Garland in this role is better than Lady Gaga in that role, and Lady Gaga's great.
Oh no,
so,
but I would agree with that statement.
Yeah. So
I'm
sticking with Judy.
I'm giving you this one. I think she's a powerhouse. Like, incredible. Can't wait to see more. Like, brilliant. 3 periods, should have gotten an Oscar. But like, you can't. I mean, it's Somewhere Over the Rainbow. It's Judy Garland. That was not like, Wizard of Oz was once not a thing. You know what I mean? Like, the film of Wizard of Oz once wasn't around, and someone had to come to set every day and say, I'm going to play this character a certain way, Yeah.
And back then, the Hollywood was not the kindest to young actresses coming up either.
No.
So the fact that she endured so much as well, I mean, and it kind of led to her downfall in terms of her, like, substance abuse, and it's sad. It's a very sad story. But that was the performance that made us all fall in love with her and made us all fall in love with cinema.
It's true. It's true.
So let's
give
move
Judy
on,
her statue.
Let's move on, dude, because this is the category that I had the toughest time with, because there was a laundry list, and it was almost like, what do I want to talk about more than like,
what am I trying to say with this?
Right,
pick?
like because I probably have one that I like is probably the genuine like that's the pick I'd pick, but then it's like, but I can't not talk about this performance, because it's so so Krosby, actually, you're gonna start us off because I won the last point, right. So go ahead.
So this is I actually don't think we're gonna have the same pick. If we do, I'm gonna be really surprised, but it'll be funny. Yeah. So in 2013, there was a film.
Okay, we don't have the same pick.
Called Fruitvale Station, and the star of that film was Michael B. Jordan, and he delivers a heart-stopping performance.
That is a good pick.
I think a big. I mean, like I was. It's obviously really timely. The movie's still really timely, sadly. It's arguably it's become more timely, which is tragic, but it's the case. And Michael B. Jordan delivers a performance that will literally make anyone cry. Like, there are few performances like where you're like, no, I don't care who they are, you will cry at the end of this film. And Michael B. Jordan delivers a flawed humanity like nobody else. I mean, he's a veteran of television brilliance, but I think it's really interesting in an era where so many actors that are famous are going from movies to TV, to think about Michael B. Jordan, who started in some of the most iconic television shows of the 20th century, the early 21st century. Yeah. And then went on to curate some incredible film roles. And to me, this probably takes the cake for his acting performances.
Yeah, I honestly, I was shocked when you said it, because I thought it was nominated, and it wasn't on my radar,
right?
One of my picks, but yeah, it wasn't nominated. I have him actually down as one of my honorable mentions for supporting for Black Panther. And I think it's interesting because Ryan Coogler is the one who directed this. This was his debut.
Yes.
And this was kind of the movie that put Michael B. Jordan on the map in terms of cinema.
Exactly.
And then
also an incredible movie all around. Incredible.
Yeah. And then they went on to make Creed. And then they went on to make Black Panther. Like, they are a match made in heaven. And like you said, it is so timely. My runner-up for the next round is Do the Right Thing. So I'm not going to talk about it, obviously.
Oh, that's great.
But it was my runner-up because I was like, this is like, what, cinema needs to be awarded. Like, this is the cinema that needs to be awarded now. And Do the Right Thing, even more so in 1989, should have been awarded something or nominated for Best Picture. But this performance, as we see, like you said, it's still timely today. The shit is still going on, and for Michael B. Jordan to bring such like a raw honesty to the role, to where the end happens and there's no ifs, ands, or buts on who you should side with, who you should feel for, and I think it's a movie that if everyone watched, maybe the world would be a better place. I like to be optimistic, but
it would. It's true. I I'm really excited to hear your pick, but this one was like I thought I would agonize over this category, and I did to a certain extent, but once I figured this one out, I just said, nope, that's the one. That's the one, because partially because it was, it was very well thought of at the time, but it didn't receive the awards buzz that I think it should have.
Yeah, and again, like I said, it's the idea of like a new not a new face, because he was a familiar face, but a new face to cinema, and a new director. It was like first films are hard to. That's why Get Out is so impressive, because it was able to pass that threshold. It was actually able to get the nomination, but Fruitvale Station got left in the dust because it was this debut director, and a lot of the times they overlook that, and it's a shame because it's such a good performance. That was a great pick. So I picked my favorite actor. I have a favorite actor, and he has 2 performances that were somehow not nominated. 3, honestly, that I could have nominated. The man is Jim Carrey.
Wow.
But the thing is, I was struggling because there are 3 legitimate performances you could nominate. You could nominate Man on the Moon because that's such a good iconic biopic performance. You could nominate Eternal Sunshine because it's like the total opposite of what he's done ever. But the performance I went with was The Truman Show, and the reason I did it is because I think this is the perfect marriage of his comedy and his drama. Like he is doing a dramatic performance, like for one of the first times. This is the first time everyone's like really noticing him as more than just the funny guy, but he still has that little bit of charm that it's like, what, he's still got those comedic chops. And it makes the characters delightful, and the movie is so deep, and it doesn't seem that way until you really get to the end and you realize how freaking deep it is. And the fact that he's able to really sell that ending and make it not this stupid ending of him like stepping out of the bubble, how do you end a film like that? And they ended it perfectly, and his performance, his delivery, in case I don't see you, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night, or something like that. It's just such a beautiful performance, and for him to not ever be nominated for an Oscar,
kind of crazy. Right?
It's baffling. Yeah, yours too. These are 2 guys who've not even been nominated for an Oscar.
It's pretty crazy. I will say I think that's a really cool pick, because it is one of those times where there's just a perfect marriage of part and actor, where it's like this guy is the guy for this role. You know what I mean?
The role you were born to play.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
And it's just the whole time it's kind of like the Allison Williams thing, where like she's deceiving the audience, but this is the reverse. Like the audience is aware of what he's going through, but he doesn't know it. And it's like we get to watch him try to figure it out, and we almost feel guilt as an audience watching him go through this and not being able to say like, oh no, Truman, do this or do that, or you're being played. And I think that's beautiful, is that the audience can feel a connection to this character who is fictional. It's not like Selma, which was one of my honorable mentions, David Oyelowo. It's not like that, where it's like the person and you like know his story and you can root for him from the get-go. This is a character that's completely made up, yet you really feel like this connection to him off the bat, and you want to root for him, you want him to succeed. And it's Jim Carrey. He was coming off of Dumb and Dumber and Ace Ventura and The Cable Guy, all these crazy over-the-top slapstick performances, which I love, but I love him more for his dramatic stuff because he shows his versatility.
I agree. I think both of these guys are kind of pop culture actors at the present date, and there's nothing at all wrong with that. I would love to be there one day, but but I will say I think they're both underrated as really just dramatically skilled actors.
Yeah, and that's my one worry is Michael B. Jordan. Like I hope with Black Panther and Creed, like those were just not indie, but like just Oscar-y enough to get the recognition, but they were also commercial franchise movies, MCU and Rocky. So like, I hope he continues to do more of the Fruitvale Station stuff, because I do want him, to get more Oscar attention in the future. He
deserves that acclaim, I think,
because I think what happens is you do one performance in a franchise and you're stuck there. So like, I hope because his character was killed off in Black Panther, he now has that freedom to go and do other things. That is a 2 different performance. Again, like all these performances are so different,
Yes, very different. I got to stick to my guns, but I do have to say, I actually think that he may be coming back for Black Panther 2.
Well, there you go. And like I said, that's awesome. I just
but that'd be hard.
I hope he also. They're gonna find a way to do it. It's MCU. They can bring anyone back. yeah, but I do hope they find a way to give him other work outside the MCU, because I really think he the Fruitvale Station is where we really noticed him as a film actor. And I do think Jim Carrey, as good as the performance is, and I love it, he's my favorite actor. There are, we knew he was going to be good because he's so funny and so awesome in his other stuff, that like, to see him do a dramatic role, it was a bit surprising, but we knew he'd be good because he's Jim Carrey. He's good in everything. But I think where Michael B. Jordan, it's like it's a surprise, because he was also much younger when he was doing his TV stuff. So it's like, he's really, emerging. It's like a breakthrough. It's almost like the Judy Garland thing. It's like, this is an actor that you are gonna take notice of, and you are gonna pay attention to, and you better notice this kid. So I'm willing.
And this is a very weird hot take, but it was almost like an acting Miley Cyrus. It was like, you remember when it was like, well, Miley Cyrus is like a kid who's on Hannah Montana and stuff, and it's like, well, Michael B. Jordan is the child on The Wire and Friday Night Lights, and then it's like, they disappear for a few years, and then a little while later, Miley has We Can't Stop, and it's all over the radio, and she's an enormous, crazy, lewd star, and Michael B. Jordan comes back kind of out of nowhere, and it's like, oh shit, Michael B. Jordan delivering really, really incredible performances.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough to argue. I like want to concede the point, but I'm also like, it's Jim Carrey and he's my favorite actor. But you know what?
I won't blame you.
I think because of what we said about like in their given year, also like Jim Carrey, it was 1998, so you had like Tom Hanks in Saving Private Ryan that year. You know, you had Life is Beautiful, Roberto Benigni that year. So like, I think you also got to think about what he was up against. And I think that is such a stacked year. That I'm willing to give it to you, Krosby, because I think Michael B. Jordan, I mean, that performance is a magical one. So
incredible. Oh, I feel honored. This is amazing.
Yeah. So you've taken 2 today. I've taken 2 today. So it'll be interesting to see how this all wraps. Oh, wait, did you take 2? Did you? Yes. Okay. Way. Yeah, you took 2. I took 2 because the first one was a coin flip. I was like, I didn't think I won the first one, but I did. So this is it. Best Picture. I'm going first because you won that last round. Yes, I think there are some obvious picks where it's like, this is a genre defining movie that just back then was not seen. They didn't nominate those kind of movies, and I get it. Like a lot of the Kubrick movies I have floating around in my head. I'm like, like 2001 was one I was thinking about, but I was like, you know what? It makes sense why it wasn't nominated in its time. Like, I get it. This pick is an egregious one. This is one where I'm like, how in the world? And it is The Dark Knight. And it was not nominated, and it was the reason why the category expanded to 10 the next year, because what are you about to say?
No, just like I forgot that it was not nominated. Like, I can't.
Well, that's the thing.
It wasn't nominated.
It is nominated for the supporting actor performance, and it wins. Heath Ledger defining, but then like it's up for so many technical awards. It is the most talked about movie of that year, and I'd argue it is the most talked about comic book movie of all time. Maybe save for Avengers Endgame because of how big Avengers Endgame was, but I think honestly, Dark Knight might be even bigger.
Different then, though. Like it would, that's a good one.
Because like we talked about last week with pre-MCU films, it's like, or 2 weeks ago, it's like you can't pick The Dark Knight because technically Iron Man came out before it, but this was still a time pre MCU as we know it.
Totally, yeah.
So it was the Spider-Man films, it was some X-Men films, it was Iron Man, and then it was your niche ones like Blade, and then it was Superman, Batman, and it was like. But the thing is, everyone had this preconceived notion of what Batman was, and Christopher Nolan in Batman Begins kind of turned it on its head. But then this one is where he just kicked it up a notch, and he was like, no, this is my Batman. This is cool Batman. This is like what you kids are going to remember. And it was the movie that made me look at movies in a different light beyond the, entertainment value. And I think that's what's so special about The Dark Knight. It did that for so many other people. It made comic book movies legit and like made them more than just entertainment and people in tights. And as fun as the Spider-Mans are and the X-Men's and stuff, this was the one that really just caught people's attention. so much so that the Academy themselves was like, yeah, we fucked up. We're expanding to 10 next year.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, for a movie to do that, like,
you gotta be serious in your game to do that.
And it's not even your typical superhero movie too, where it's like, this doesn't even have to have Batman. If you take away the suit and just make him a guy in like a ski mask,
Yeah.
like who fights crime and stuff, and the Joker is just some guy who dresses up like
just
a clown
a terrorist,
who's not named the Joker.
Yeah.
It's not a superhero movie. Like
No.
it does not hit the same beat.
It's just a brilliant work.
and so I don't even think they could say like, oh, it's a superhero movie, so we're gonna ignore it. Like, there was no excuse for them not nominating it. And in a year where there are good movies, you know, Frost Nixon and Milk and Benjamin Button, but like, this is the one that is like, this is still a cultural phenomenon, and I just don't know why they didn't nominate it. It puzzles me to this day.
Dylan, you just blew my dick clean off. I can't even deal with that. The Dark Knight wasn't nominated for Best Picture. That is a travesty. I can't even believe that. What's even the point of me arguing mine now?
Well, the thing is, here's the thing. My favorite movie of all time was not nominated for Best Picture, and that's Singing in the Rain. And I almost argued it, but then I was like, you know what? Singing in the Rain came out a year after American Paris, and they didn't want to give it to another movie musical again. Like, there was at least some sort of justification there, which is bullshit, but like, there's some justification there. There was no justification for Dark Knight not being nominated. There's nothing you could tell me, like, even if it's not your favorite movie of 2008, to say it is not one of the 5 best pictures of that year in terms of just significance. Because the thing is, Best Picture doesn't necessarily have to be the best movie. It just has to be the most significant.
Exactly.
And like the one that you want to best represent this time and this year in history. There's no words. So Krosby,
I don't think
fight it out. We're still gonna fight it out.
Always. But I will have to say, I don't think there will ever be a movie like The Dark Knight again. Like, as much as I adore bits of the MCU, and I really do, like, it's pretty dope and iconic and impressive. Like, MCU is just impressive. I don't care who you are, what you think of it. The Dark Knight was this thing where it was like, okay, Christopher Nolan, like, almost just kind of warmed up with Batman Begins. Like, he just wanted to make sure that all his ideas would work in the context that they were in. Oh, man. Anyway, I gotta argue mine.
Like I said, we gotta fight it out. But like, you know, we know you're a fan of the Dark Knight, but I'm sure I'll be a fan of whatever you pick. Because again, there's a laundry list. I have a list. I have such a long list of movies that should have been nominated. So I'm really curious to see what you pick.
Okay, good stuff. Okay, so I'm taking it back to a beautiful year, my birth year, 1998.
Same year as Truman Show.
The a movie that was not nominated for any Oscars, that is a cultural phenomenon set in the great city of Los Angeles. I'm talking about The Big Lebowski.
Nice. I was wondering why you didn't pick it for supporting actor, but now I know.
Yeah, now you know. The Big Lebowski, it's like one of the only genuine comedies the Coen brothers have really ever made. Like, mostly they do brilliant things like that, like Fargo, that are like so dark that you almost feel guilty for laughing, but you do anyway because they're brilliant. But like, of late, they've kind of taken it to more just like, okay, we're serious, dramatic, like, cool guys, and we make No Country for Old Men, you know, and stuff like that. But Big Lebowski, they were still very much like, kind of like, okay, we write comedies, we make things fun. Like, this is only a little while really after Raising Arizona. Raising Arizona is their first movie. And the performances are brilliant, but when you bring it together with the script, with the story, with the music, and the way that it's shot, I think that it truly is one of the great snubs ever, period. And the one thing I will say about this movie that I think is funny, this would never happen today. If a movie like The Big Lebowski came out today that was such a like indie-ish darling, it would 100% be nominated for Best Picture.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting.
Dark Knight.
I think it's interesting because, like, we're talking 2 movies. One is such a blockbuster, like, heavy cape shit, you know, and then one is like this indie darling. But I think honestly, I think for a movie, Dark Knight, like I said, there's no excuse for them not nominating it, but at the same time, it was a superhero film. So like there is that idea that it is a superhero film. Whereas it's like Big Lebowski is this like indie darling, like dark comedy, like it's everything the Academy should like. It's just they don't nominate it. and here's the thing, I've been looking a lot at 1998 the past few weeks because like Oscar season's coming up, so I've been reading up on some Oscar stuff. Of course, that was the year where Saving Private Ryan lost to Shakespeare in Love, and that's one of the great Oscar upsets. But then you look, Shakespeare in Love, I like it, but it's a period comedy. It's fine. But when you have a comedy like The Big Lebowski that is still talked about, it's still memed to death. What's the thing he says in the bowling alley about like it's just your opinion, man? Or
that's just like your opinion, man.
I use that
this
gif all the time.
Will not stand.
I use that gif all the time, so it's like it still has
culturally relevant, you know?
Relevance, yeah, it still has relevance today, and I think that's what's so important about both these movies is like they have their own followings. I mean, Dark Knight is probably a wider following than Big Lebowski, but Big Lebowski for a specific group of people, it's a big deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I love what we brought today. I can't for John Goodman. I can't back down.
That's fine. And here's the thing, John Goodman. I know you picked Ralph Fiennes in supporting actor, but John Goodman in that movie, that is an Oscar performance right there. That's an Oscar winning performance. I don't care. Like I don't know why they didn't nominate it. He has never been nominated for an Oscar either, and it's like
criminal.
Yeah, the snubs are egregious.
They are.
So I know you're passionate about Dark Knight, and I am passionate about Big Lebowski, but it seems like we're gonna end on a coin flip because it's not fair to bring the Dark Knight to the table and then like make Krosby concede that easily. You know, like you brought this pick that you love,
but it's well done.
And you love that movie, and I don't want to take away your love. You know, Big Lebowski is amazing, and I don't want to diminish the love for that by just saying, oh, it's Dark Knight 100%. You know, I want to end on a coin flip. How about
Let's see what there is.
Siri, flip a coin. Krosby.
Oh, The Big Lebowski with the win it never had.
The Big Lebowski is the greatest Best Picture snub of all time. I'm happy with it.
Dill, I have to, just to be fair on that one, I think we have to split that one. I have to say, Dark Knight, due to the cultural significance, I just don't think you can overstate. It was like the only movie people were talking about. The things that people talked about in 2008 were The Dark Knight and Barack Obama. That was the toast of the year, you know?
I have an idea. Let's say for the biggest Best Picture snub of the 21st century, we can give it to The Dark Knight. And then for the biggest Oscar snub, Best Picture of the 20th century, we can give it to The Big Lebowski.
I love it. When we each get a half of the apple. We each get a 0.5.
No, we're each getting our own point. It's two separate centuries.
Oh my god, this is incredible.
That's just like our opinion, man.
That's just like your opinion, man.
So what we're gonna do right now is I'm gonna recap what the show and who got the points and who got the wins where, and then at the end we're gonna go we can go category by category and talk about some of our honorable mentions. Is that good?
Why not? Yeah, just rattle through some.
So Best Supporting Actress, Krosby brought Jane Lynch from Role Models to the table, and I brought Allison Williams from Get Out. Siri flipped a coin, and Get Out won.
It did.
Best Supporting Actor, I brought Andy Serkis to the table, and Krosby. Oh my God, I'm blanking on what you brought. Oh, you brought Ralph Fiennes from Grand Budapest. Yeah, Grand Budapest. And Grand Budapest, Ralph Fiennes, he took the win there. Best Actress, I brought, who did I bring? Judy Garland to the table, and Krosby brought Yo
Jung Cho.
Yep, and Judy Garland, she walked that yellow brick road straight to a win for me. And then Best Actor, I brought Jim Carrey from The Truman Show, and Krosby, he brought
Michael B. Jordan from Fruitvale Station.
And I believe Michael B. Jordan won that one, right?
Yeah, Michael B. took it.
And then Best Picture, we decided to split it between centuries, so the winner for Best 20th Century Best Picture snub was Big Lebowski. Krosby got the point for that, and Best Picture snub of the 21st century was Dark Knight, and I got that one. So
we all felt good.
So yeah, so in the end, we both win 3 apiece. So that puts me up 5-4. You know, it's
we're
tight.
Still close though. It's coming along.
No one steamrolled their way out of this one.
Exactly.
So before we get to our own honorable mentions, I'm going to read off some of the listeners because I don't want to forget, because I almost forgot last time.
Exactly. We'll close it on the honorable mentions.
Right. So starting off, Matt says, this may not be the best, but the first one that comes to mind is So Damn Park in Parasite. She played the daughter sister.
Oh.
So yeah, you got some people on the same wavelength.
Yeah, no, another good choice. Another good choice.
And then for best picture, he says Do the Right Thing.
Okay, sure.
Then here are some other acting snubs. Rosie says Ben Affleck in Argo.
Yeah.
Yeah, he directed it and acted in it. He didn't get nominated.
I love that movie. I love that.
It's a good movie. It's a great movie. And John Goodman again.
Yeah, the great John Goodman.
Yeah. Becky, my mom, said Woody Harrelson in Natural Born Killers.
That's a good pick. I like that.
Yeah. Peyton says Hugh Jackman in Prisoners, another 2013 performance there for you, Crosby.
That's a good choice.
Haley says she gave us 2 horror performances: Lupita Nyong'o in Us and Florence Pugh in Midsommar. Good choices, obviously. And then Lily says Jennifer Aniston in Cake. It's a perfect Oscar bait. Played way against type, and was still snubbed. Good pick.
Wow, I'll have to watch that. I haven't actually seen
I haven't seen Cake.
I have to check it out. Thank you.
Kelsey gave us a laundry list of performances. She said Josh Hamilton for 8th Grade. He plays the dad. Allison Brie for Horse Girl, which is on Netflix. I've never seen that. Tom Holland for The Impossible when he was just a wee little boy.
Interesting. When he was a wee little thing.
Yeah. Zendaya in Malcolm and Marie that just came out recently.
Interesting. Yeah, that did just come out.
Anthony Michael Hall in The Breakfast Club, and then she also said Breakfast Club and Scott Pilgrim versus the World for Best Picture.
Wow.
Yeah, those are good picks.
Scott Pilgrim is great. I love that.
Really good.
Cinematography in that movie is nuts.
Some other Best Picture snubs that people put in. Rosie said, "Don't know too much about the nominations ever, but I'm gonna have to go with Ratatouille. That's a nice pick. Animation.
I mean, look, it's brilliant.
It is. It really is.
There.
The rat of all my dreams. My mom said The Shining. Again, a cultural defining horror film. Sheldon said Booksmart, the comedy that might be my favorite ever. Great pick. Haley says Stand By Me, and Ben says Mulholland Drive, which is a David Lynch film, which I have still never seen, but it's it's an iconic one.
Those are some good.
Yeah. So Crosby, why don't we go through our honorable mentions? How about that?
Why not? Yeah, let's.
Do you have them by category, or do you have them all at once, or how do you?
I mean, we can just mush them all together if you want. I was just gonna run through them like a list, but we can also do them by category.
Let's do it by category, just because we have a few for each. So supporting actors, what were some of your honorable mentions?
So this one was very specific because I had it down to 2. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So. And this one's kind of funny because apparently it couldn't be nominated. And it was like a whole thing because it was recorded on a stage. But Renee Elise Goldsberry in Hamilton really gives a crazy performance. I mean, like, she, that's just, if you haven't seen it, you should see it. She's really good.
It's amazing. Yep.
Yeah.
Anything else there, or just that was
that was, and really this applies to Best Actress as well, but the entire cast of The Help, like there were many actresses nominated from that film, but there were some who weren't, and that's sad because they're really, really good.
Mm-hmm. Just a few I had. Jennifer Lopez in Hustlers.
That's a good one. That's a good one.
An actress that people, again, they probably snubbed her because they didn't take her seriously, but she did a great job. And then 2 sci-fi performances that are kind of along the same vein. Alicia Vikander for Ex Machina, but she was nominated and won for The Danish Girl in the same year. So like I kind of didn't pick it because I was like, she won, but it was just for the wrong performance. I mean, she's my favorite actress. Like I love her, dude.
That's a good choice.
Then Ana de Armas for Blade Runner 2049 was my other pick that I was toying around with. So
very cool. I like that.
All right, so supporting actor, what do you got?
So for Best Supporting Actor, I mean, my number one was obviously John Goodman for Big Lebowski. I wound up going with Ralph Fiennes, but John Goodman, I rewatched the homework scene today with Larry. Is this your homework, Larry? It's just it's maybe the funniest scene ever. Yeah. It's so good. I also had really it's once again like an applies to the whole cast thing, but specifically Romany Malco from 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Nice.
he plays one of the guys who works in the store. Is incredible.
Yeah.
The entire supporting ensemble of the gentlemen who work in the store, all are fantastic in 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Yep.
And then specifically for Best Supporting Actor, the one that I was talking about earlier, Trial of the Chicago 7, this year.
Yeah.
Frank Langella, Mark Rylance, Eddie Redmayne, Jeremy Strong, Alex Sharp. I mean, none of them. And it was rough. Obviously, Sacha Baron Cohen with a fantastic performance. But and Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and Michael Keaton. And
Yahya Abdul-Mateen, too.
Oh, and I loved Abdul-Mateen.
Yeah.
I loved him, and I also loved him in Watchmen. He's amazing.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But I was staggered by that. I was staggered by the fact that more of them were nominated. And I get that we are cool in the Academy these days. I feel like they cut down more on the number of nominees when it comes to the acting categories. But that one really got me. What about you, bro?
Yeah, dude. So for supporting actor, I had Andrew Garfield for The Social Network. Didn't get nominated, which is
that's
puzzling.
A good point.
Donald O'Connor for Singing in the Rain, my favorite movie. Of course, he's doing all these flips and crazy tricks. Robert Shaw for Jaws gives one of the great monologues.
Oh, that's a good one. That's a really good one.
And then, as I said, Michael B. Jordan for Black Panther was on my side list as well. All right, moving on to actress. What do you have in your honorable mentions, Krosby?
Okay, so for Best Actress, I actually had the great Debbie Reynolds for the movie we both love, Singing in the Rain.
Oh, yes.
That was the one that kind of leapt to my mind at once, because as a person who has some musical theater training, it is a different thing, to do acting and film acting and musical theater acting. And it's also a different thing to be filmed pretending to be a musical theater actor, etc. And that was why, though I went with the Parasite performance because it's probably my favorite of the past, maybe even 10 years. I had to give props, like you did for Judy. I had to give props for the especially breaking through as a woman in that time to Debbie Reynolds. Really amazing, What about you? Hit me up with yours.
I had the same horror performances actually that Haley submitted, Lupita Nyong'o and Us.
Okay.
I also picked Toni Collette in Hereditary. I think is an amazing performance.
Definitely.
Charlize Theron in Mad Max Fury Road.
That one too. That's such a good one.
And then I have some older performances. Mia Farrow in Rosemary's Baby, and then Marilyn Monroe in Some Like It Hot. So those are my honorable mentions.
Yeah, that's a great movie. I love that movie.
Yeah.
It's a funny movie. Good one.
Yeah. All right, Best Actor. What do you got, Krosby?
Best Actor.
I have a long list for this.
Long list, but very specifically, the one that I thought about was Jake Gyllenhaal in Nightcrawler. He's super amazing in that. Also, people who I don't think get the props they should get: Walter Matthau and Jack Lemmon in The Odd Couple.
Nice.
They just give these redonkulous performances that are so in tune with each other. It's impressive, and obviously they are one of the great comedy duos. But still, I think it's pretty fantastic. And the thing is, once you start looking at these lists of people who haven't been nominated, you're like, what? Like they didn't get nominated for that? What? Like they didn't get what? And it really is sort of crazy, when you find these things out. The other one is probably Jack Nicholson for The Shining, even though it's a tried and true, it's a worn out thing, but it's a great performance.
So my honorable mentions, I had Sacha Baron Cohen for Borat. I think it's another cultural defining performance. Gene Kelly for Singing in the Rain. David Oyelowo for Selma as Martin Luther King Jr. Henry Fonda in 12 Angry Men.
Yes.
Anthony Perkins in Psycho. Love that performance. Norman Bates. And then I have some two really modern ones. Adam Sandler for Uncut Gems. And then Delroy Lindo for Defy Bloods this year.
Who did not get nominated? Crazy.
It's bull crap, dude.
Everyone, and I remember from reading articles of everyone thought he was gonna get nominated, and then guess not.
We're gonna nominate Gary Oldman again.
Straight up. No disrespect for my boy Gary though.
No, man, but this ship has sailed. All right, Best Picture, dude. What were some of your other options?
So the first one that popped into my head, and it is a really like, of course, but was Avatar. Avatar didn't get nominated for Best Picture.
Really?
The blue one.
Did it? Are you sure it didn't get nominated for Best Picture?
No,
or didn't win?
I was stunned. I thought it lost. I thought it got nominated and then didn't win, but it didn't even get nominated. And I remember when I saw Avatar in theaters, even though I was a little kid, I was like, this changes everything. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, movies are going to be bigger now. They're going to be like, brassier. Like, honestly, and this might be my hot take of the episode, Dill, but I don't think that we have the MCU as we know it without Avatar.
I agree. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were there any other names you were?
No, that was my main one, because once I was like, okay, it's just Avatar. Like, Avatar is the one I'm gonna go with, and then I was like, wait a minute, Big Lebowski didn't get nominated for shit.
So I have a long list. Singing in the Rain, like I said. Singing in the Rain, like I said, 2 movies from 1968, 2001: A Space Odyssey and Rosemary's Baby. The Empire Strikes Back was nominated.
That's crazy.
A couple other big blockbusters like Jurassic Park, The Lion King, Toy Story. Harry Potter has never been nominated for anything.
That's kind of crazy.
Best Picture. No Harry Potter movies. Some indies like Sling Blade, Memento, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, Pan's Labyrinth. And then most recently Blade Runner 2049, Paddington 2, and then basically all of Hitchcock's classics like Rear Window, Vertigo, North by Northwest, Psycho, The Birds. None of those were nominated. I think Rebecca was nominated in one, but like no one talks about Rebecca. They talk about Psycho, Vertigo, North by Northwest, Rear Window. None of them got nominated. So
that's wild.
And Do the Right Thing was my backup. So lots of great choices. Solid. Yeah, dude. I mean, that was a show, man. That was we talked about so many great movies. Yeah. Yeah, I've got it tired now, but now I'm excited for the Oscars. I'm like ready to go. I'm ready to see.
I loved your picks, still, and I have to tell you, I loved yours as well.
Cool. I mean, any show where we can talk about Big Lebowski, Dark Knight, and Grand Budapest Hotel on the same show, it's a good day. So Krosby, we're gonna talk about what we're doing next time, which is gonna be the first show in May, because we've done 2 in April. We do 2 a month.
Wow, that's crazy.
We'll be doing
exciting.
Yeah, we're already in May. May 7th will be the next episode. And do you want to tell everyone what that topic is gonna be?
We're gonna be talking about the mafia.
We're gonna be talking about
my hand. But...
yes, yeah. If you're listening to us, head to YouTube just for that moment.
Exactly, just so you know. But we're gonna be covering one of the great subgenres of film, the mafia film. There are so many great ones. I can't wait to talk about it because a lot of people like to talk about mafia film, but I'm excited to hear your opinion on it, Dill.
Yeah, especially as an Italian, I have lots of opinions.
You're qualified.
So yeah, we'll be talking about what is the best mafia movie next week, or next show, which is May 7th.
Yes, indeed.
One little bit of news also, before we promote ourselves, I will just say we are doing an award show on the Dill Pickle Movie Network, which is the YouTube channel where this show can be found. You can hear us on the podcast, but if you want to head over to the Dill Pickle Movie Network, we've got other great shows for you, and one of those is the Pickle Awards, which will be happening on Sunday, April 18th, and we'll be talking about all of my favorite movies of the year, but there was an audience poll where you could vote for your movies too, and I just told him this before the show, but Krosby will be presenting the category of Best Animated Feature at the Pickle Awards. So, Krosby is. So if you're listening to this after Sunday, it is posted on the Dill Pickle Movie Network. Go watch it.
Go check it out.
Yeah, Krosby presents it. There's a couple of musical performances. There's other good guests presenting categories. There's a lot of love for cinema. So come check us out. So Krosby, where can they find you specifically on the
on Twitch?
On the
they
web?
Can find me at Rice Krosby Treats, and on Instagram they can find me Krosby J Roza.
That's right.
And
you can find me Krosby with a K. Yes, Krosby with a K. Don't get that wrong. Is there a Krosby Roza with a C out there, do you think?
Maybe. I don't know. If he
or like
is
a Q.
Old and confused.
What about like a Q, like Krosby?
Krosby.
Krosby.
Krosby João Roza.
That'd be hilarious. Yeah, and you can find me at Dylan_Randazzo at Twitter. And again, like I said, on the Dill Pickle Movie Network. If you're listening to us on podcasts, give us a little review. Give us a thumbs up on YouTube. If you're listening to us on YouTube, give us another view if you want to show your families. If you don't want to show your families, fine. But if you just have your laptop or phone sitting around, give us a view. Keep the views going. Give us a comment. I want to hear every single person who's listening to this. I want to hear your best picture, director. We didn't even do director, but give me your director, actor, actress. Yeah, give us all your snubs on the bottom, and give us the ones that even did get nominated that you like. Because there's so many good movies out there that didn't get nominated. I mean, true. So many good ones. So thank you all for listening. Krosby, it was a pleasure as always.
Dylan, a pleasure.
Yeah. And we'll be back next time. Well, what are we talking about next time?
We're talking about the mafia!
The mafia! All right. See y'all next time.
I know.